Hello everyone, Mr. Mugen here. Hey, I wanted to describe some things about the protists for you. I think I can make some sense of kind of a confusing kingdom of organisms. Let's take a quick look at what the protists are all about. I'm going to share my screen here. Here we go. Very good. So let's take a quick look at the protists. Okay, got my screen share going here. All right, now we're rolling. The protists are literally a junk drawer, a garbage heap of eukaryotic organisms. So these creatures have an organized nucleus. They're that advanced. But how do you get classified as a protist? Some of these things are simply gorgeous, gorgeous creatures. Mostly single cellular, mostly microscopic, and yet the classification process does put together an amazing array of organism diversity in the same kingdom. So let's take a look at how protists are classified. Protist classification. It's eukaryotic, but if it's not an animal, if it's not a plant, if it's not a fungus, well then it must be a protist. So if it's not any one of those three kingdoms, then it's by default a protist. So that means there are some protists which are strangely animal-like, referred to as the protozoa. There are some protists that are strangely plant-like, the algae. And there are some protists that are strangely fungus-like, which are collectively called the slime molds. See where those come from. Those things that are heterotrophic. I'm eukaryotic, I'm not an animal, but I'm still heterotrophic. Those things are the protozoans. Those things are amoebas. Those things are paramecium. Those things have some animal-like characteristics. They're going to be able to move. They're definitely going to have to ingest something outside themselves. They eat. They take things in. What of those things that are very much plant-like? They're the algae. These things are photosynthetic in many cases. They are sometimes really quite large. Some of the algae, the kelp beds, can grow to be 60, 70 feet in length. So here we have a part of our mostly single cellular kingdom that can be 70 feet in length. So I'm a eukaryotic organism. I'm not heterotrophic. I'm not autotrophic and photosynthetic, so I don't fit in with the protozoans or the algae. Well, I'm probably going to be very much fungus-like, something that is saprobic. In other words, growing into the structures that it's growing on, whether that be anything from a rotting piece of fruit to a rotting log. These slime molds will grow into the food that they're growing on, digest that material outside of their cells, and absorb the nutrients from the exterior digestion process. So these things are either protozoans if they're animal-like, algae if they're plant-like, or slime molds if they're fungus-like. So why are protists important to us at all? Well, the very start of the ocean's food chain are protists. The very first thing to grab sunlight, the very first thing to be eaten by tiny, tiny zooplankton, and start the food chain from there. Protists are also hugely important in that because they are photosynthetic, they produce a great deal of the oxygen on this planet, potentially 40% of the oxygen. So very, very important in terms of ecological balance, in terms of oxygen production, vitally important to us. Some protists are important to us because they can cause serious human diseases. Like Giardia can cause giardiasis. Why can't we just grab water out of the stream and drink it? It's got protozoans in it. They can get into our body and do us a great deal of harm. Cryptosporidium, or cryptosporidosis, is sometimes a disease that can happen. It's very similar to giardiasis, drinking water that's been infected, but the cryptosporidium protists are much harder to kill with the water treatment process, like chlorine, that helps us to keep our water free of these kinds of creatures. Cryptosporidium is much tougher to deal with in the water filtration and water purification process. And lastly, malaria. Malaria is a disease that's spread by mosquitoes. It's common throughout the entire world. It takes, I'd say, conservatively 500,000 lives per year, kills a lot of people. Even those individuals that don't die have to deal with the symptoms of malaria, keeping them from working, keeping them from building the kinds of housing, building the kinds of environments that would help them avoid getting malaria. So for all of these reasons, protists are crucially important to us. The garbage dump, the diseases they cause, all of these things make protists crucially important to us. So the next time you take a look at some pond water, realizing the potential diseases that some of those creatures can cause, hope we have a greater level of respect for Mother Nature's tiniest of ecological inhabitants. Thank you so much.